everyone, Bell is back, and I've done so many videos on the Batman right now. Review videos, talking about how amazing it was, getting into a few of the criticisms, hearing other people's thoughts on it, talking about the villains I want to see in the next movies and the HBO Max shows, and just every single facet about this movie. There's going to be spoilers in this video. If you have not watched the Batman, don't continue to watch this video. But I don't imagine you would be clicking on this video if you hadn't seen the Batman already. But I've talked a fair bit about that character that was cameoed in the Batman. Spoilers, it was the Joker. And I think I've said enough about his characterization. Upcoming in the movies, Matt Reeves has said that he's going to be very, very back to basics, something going all the way back to the early stages of the Joker and his inspirations, like the Man Who Laughs movie. This Joker is going to be already disfigured. I've already shared my thoughts on how I don't really like having an origin story for the Joker, but I'm fine. It's been done before and it can work. Even if it's not my favorite. I have not gotten at all a chance to talk about my girl Harley, though, have I? It's not on the forefront of a lot of people's minds because there's just so much to talk about and so much that Matt Reeves has talked about with this movie, but I was going a bit insane at that Joker moment at the end in Arkham Asylum, and by hearing the Gotham PD show morph into an Arkham Asylum show, because I'm like, that place is ripe for Dr. Quinzel to show up in. And it became just so clear to me because I've been waiting for so long to get the opportunity to get a fresh version of that character in a big scale, like a theatrical movie universe. At the very least, the universe of this new Batman. I've been waiting so long for it, and it finally seems like we've got the biggest chance. It seems inevitable that we are, one day or another, going to get a new take on Dr. Quinzel, because I think that this universe is going to have a take on all the major Batman characters, and there's just no way that we can spend that much time in Arkham Asylum in a show and with the Joker and not get a take on Harley. And so that excites me for a lot of different reasons. First of all, because I wasn't happy with what turned out to be the DCEU version, which I don't think has ever really defined the character. It's just really played off of changing outfits and acting silly and whatnot. But this one I was very concerned because I think I said this in an earlier video, I'm concerned that whoever handles Harley next won't understand her either, and that they won't even want to do her. And I'm not sure if Matt Reeves has thought about the character at all yet. She could be in any stage. They could have already considered bringing her in. They could have someone in mind to be cast, or they could have her just kind of, not have talked about her just yet and have her in the distance. I really don't know what stage her introduction is at, if at all. Because just like with the Joker being in this movie, I had no idea. They seemed to have no plan to bring him in this movie, and then the rumors came out that they had cast someone for him and had already kind of defined their own version a little bit, even though they're leaving it ambiguous of where he's going to appear next. But with Harley, what gives me a little bit of hope, I'm not sure if Matt Reeves has any personal interest in the character, but what's good about him is what he said about going back to basics with the Joker. He's going to go all the way back to his roots and create a new rendition of the character. And that gives me confidence that with Harley, he would go back to her roots in Batman the Animated Series and the Arkham games, and even hopefully have Harleen brought to his attention, the graphic novel, especially since that was both an Amazon and New York Times bestseller, and is very infamous for bringing her back to a darker, grounded take after so many years of just being a Looney Tunes character. I'm sure someone would give him that comic. I'm not sure how much of a hand he'd have in it if Harley would, say, be a part of the Arkham Asylum show, and that maybe she'd have different writers handling her and maybe have him oversee it a little bit, since he's kind of the head of this universe as I see it. But it gives me a lot of hope because it just seems like this is the perfect time to bring in Harley and have her actually be involved with Batman again. She's had 3 movies so far, and none of them have been a Batman movie appearance. But the good thing about this universe is you know for sure that Girl Deadpool cannot exist in this universe. And I was losing my mind the other day when I saw Margot Stans on Twitter saying things like, Harley can't exist in the Batman universe. She can't exist in a grounded, gritty Gotham. I'm like, that is literally where the character was created for, where she thrived in. Part of what made her work was it was interesting to see her kind of bright poppy cheer in contrast to Gotham and in contrast to Batman. That's so entertaining to watch. And I guess these people who I'm assuming have only seen Birds of Prey, because I wouldn't call it Suicide Squad that bright of a universe either. I'm assuming, the first one, I'm assuming that they just have not seen anything else and that they're making that claim based on that. You haven't even experienced what it's like to have a character like Harley in contrast to the dark background of Gotham. But more importantly, this is just why when I'm talking to these people, they don't know what I'm talking about. Harley used to have real depth as a character and a real human aspect, and that's been completely lost as they've just made her into a Deadpool ripoff, if you will, since that's the easiest way and the usual way people describe it. But when I'm looking at this universe, I'm like, we could definitely get an adaptation of her origin. We could definitely get an adaptation of Harleen. This is a universe that is perfect to bring the character back to a more human character like I've been asking for. I'd be thrilled to see that. Now, could a straight up adaptation of Harleen work in this universe? I'm not sure. This seems it works in the sense that one of the huge themes of that comic was Harley seeing how the people of Gotham, the citizens of Gotham, are sick, and how so many of them fall into literal mental illness and become costume criminals. That was a huge theme in that comic, her exploring that, and that absolutely works in this Batman universe, which they've already touched on with the city being so just mentally ill in and of itself. But I'm not sure if this would be a universe where you would make up a Harley who is altruistic. Like, this seems like more of the cynical universe where we might see a Harley who's only out for herself, which is how she started in the comics with Mad Love, where she only wanted to she was fascinated by the criminals of Gotham, but she only wanted to research them and exploit them for her own gain. I can see the darker take on her taking place in this universe. And going back to Harleen, I'm not sure if this is going to be the universe that works with a Joker who has multiple origin stories. I can definitely see if he's going to be a person who becomes who he is, which began that way because he was born scarred. He's lived with people looking at him a certain way his entire life, and he sees his life as a joke, and that kind of feeds into his Joker persona and his evil, which is essentially what Matt Reeves said his take on. I can see that definitely working with Harley. Like, now he has something sympathetic about him that she really feels bad about, and that she really throws herself all into him as a case because of it. Now, it's different than the Harleen version. The Harleen version showed Joker as this kind of rock star, this really attractive, seductive character. It was a very different version of the Joker that was specifically supposed to be seen from Harley's perspective. And the fact that she doesn't know his backstory and doesn't know what made him snap and wants to know is what he really uses to drive her and manipulate her into getting further and further obsessed with him and his case. And those are key factors of that comic, and I'm not sure if they could work here if the Joker is supposed to be a character who's already just grotesquely deformed as he is in most versions, and if we have an idea of who he was before. And everyone has an idea of who he was before he became Joker, because he's in Arkham Asylum. And I just need that a little bit clarified, because Matt Reeves says he's already a serial killer in this version, but he's not the Joker. So I just have to see, I guess, how much we really have defined of his backstory to make that call. Because it could be he's essentially the Joker, he just hasn't been fully formed yet. He hasn't claimed that title for himself. We have to see. So I think elements of Harleen could work. It might not work as a straight up adaptation, and we might not get a straight up movie of it. My big dream was to get a movie on par with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker that would be more comic book accurate, that would be an adaptation of the Harleen comic and explore Harley's fall to madness. We might not get that here, but I think that I need to see a little bit more information, though, because I need to have more info on how WB sees Harley as a character right now. The big thing, and why people keep saying, well, we won't get one anytime soon because of Margot Robbie, the big thing about her is that version of the character was popular as a character who was very associated with Batman and Joker. They got too confident with her and assumed she could sell in anything, so they cut all ties with Batman and the Joker with her version, gave her essentially two movies where she was supposed to be the main draw, and those two movies were unsuccessful. But in that universe, it's like there's no going back now. There's no pulling her back with Batman and Joker now that they're kind of done. Those versions are done in that universe, and now we have a new Batman universe that's becoming much more successful. And I'm saying this not just because of my bias about the actors and the character, but I honestly do not think we're getting another Margot Robbie appearance as the character. First of all, there's really no other movies to do since Suicide Squad was unsuccessful, and there is probably not going to be a sequel because of that. They just seem like they're focusing on James Gunn's HBO Max stuff. And in terms of her appearing as a cameo or in a guest episode of one of James Gunn's shows or the Batgirl stuff, I don't really see that because in the past, Margot Robbie has been a very, very busy person as both an actress and a producer. Most of her appearances are theatrical, and I just don't see them nailing her down for another appearance on HBO Max, especially when it just seems like the Batman brand, depending on how the Batgirl show does, might be going in a completely different direction than that. And they've already seen that Harley solo does not bring in as much people as her with Batman and Joker on the theatrical money-making scale. So, I mean, at the very, very most, I could see her maybe having a final appearance as kind of like a goodbye in like an episode of HBO, and one of the HBO Max shows, but that are related to the DCEU. But I don't really see them. I don't really see her coming back for that after it's kind of made it clear that this version has run its course. So that's what I think about that. But for me, I'm just like, this movie made me feel very much done with the DCEU because I really like what this movie has been doing, and I'm tired of the DCEU frustrations. I'm more than ready to see a new Harley. In terms of my concerns about her just going the same route and just becoming a girl power icon and ditching the Joker and becoming a superhero, I don't think that this is a universe where Harley would ever, whoever the character, however they do the character in this version, I don't see how they could make her ever team up with Batman, and I don't see how a girl power version would work. I think that this is a much more mature universe, and that's the difference between this and Suicide Squad. I don't think Suicide Squad was catered or enjoyed by a mature audience who could have handled the darker elements of Harley's character and the abuse aspect, but the Batman movie is, which might be a way to bring that storyline back and have it be a bit more acceptable again, because you're dealing with people who are more mature who can handle that kind of thing and can handle that not every story is sunshine and rainbows. Quite literally not in this universe. So the one thing that I don't think that they would immediately go with a Harley breaks up with the Joker thing. Someone brought up the possibility that maybe she'll just be Dr. Quinzel this entire run and we'll only ever see her in that form and she'll help Joker escape Arkham. We could see that. Anyway, I'm more than happy to get anything of Dr. Quinzel because that's a very underrated time in her history, in my opinion. I'm just really excited to see how this character formulates in this universe and what more news we get out and who will be considered to play her. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I will have more videos out in the near future, and I'll see you next time.